Right. Thank you. Let's start with the acknowledgement of the country. I'd like to acknowledge Gadigal people of the Euro Nation, upon whose ancestral lands UTS City campus stands, and we are some of us are working here today as well. I would like to pay my respect to elders, both past and present, and acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this land, and also acknowledging that sovereignty has never been ceded in these lands. We had a bit of introduction from the team while we were evacuating, Ursula and us, which is great. Ursula and us are going to introduce ourselves, and then I'm going to go through the overview of the subject. Many of you might be familiar with the with IIP, but I'm just going to provide an overview of that. We're going to go through the project team's journey. What are the journey that students will be going through this semester? And I'm going to talk about building relationship and partnerships with the students as well. And then Ursula will talk about partners' journey, the key dates for you, what are the supports that are available to you. And we will be having breakout room meetings for you and tutors to get together and discuss some of the points and get familiarized with each other. And in the end, we will have a short Q&A session and wrap up the meeting. Well, my name is Leila Khanjani Nejad. My pronouns is she, her, and I'm the subject coordinator, meaning that I'm the lead academic for this subject. My background is in social sciences and in social development studies, and also in management. And I had the privilege of coordinating this subject last year, and so wonderful to see some of our partners from previous year. I'm so pleased to welcome our partners who are new and joining us this year as well. I believe that Louise, Annabelle, Betty, Sam, and Paulina introduced themselves, and also Beth. So I'm just going to hand over to Ursula.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ursula. Lovely to meet all of you. I'm the Industry Partnerships Officer here at TD School. I'm also a graduate from the Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation. So I have been a student in this subject as well. And then straight after uni, I went and worked in consulting at PwC, where we had a couple of student groups come through. So I've seen it from all angles, and I'm really excited to take you through this presentation today. I'll hand back over to Leila.
Yes. Well, an overview of the subject itself, Industry Innovation Project, it's a fourth year capstone subject, and it means that students will be practicing skills and knowledge that they have learned in the past 3 years. We will be working in the studio space, which provides less structural workplace environment, if you like. It gives the students that sense of ownership. They can spend more time there. They can work with their teams, and they have access to kitchen area. So it's a very informal area that brings that sense of flexibility, intimacy, and also provides, that environment that you need for creativity as well. What else? The project team will be multidisciplinary. As you all know, all of our students are doing their own core discipline, and they are taking Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation, or BCII, as a double degree. So these are students that are working in teams that every student is coming from diverse disciplinary background or diverse major background, working together. And in terms of support and guidance, we will be providing students with weekly classes, and beside that, there will be students with teams will be having weekly meetings with their tutors, and they will also be having weekly meetings with you as well. In terms of the classes, it might be worth to mention that they are expected to allocate Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays for their formal classes, 9:30 to 3:30 to 4 p.m. We will be dropping Monday classes from the second week and we will keep classes on Tuesday and Thursdays. And the reason behind that is that to give flexibility and more time to students to work on their projects, to arrange their meetings with you, and also to work on their assessments as well. So I would really appreciate it if you consider that students' classes on Tuesday and Thursdays are top priority for them as well. And it'd be fantastic if we have weekly meetings between partners and teams in days other than Tuesdays and Thursday, or out of the class time, because there is a requirement for students to attend classes as well. A bit of more details in terms of what is the journey that students will be going through. We will be having 4 major phases for students to go through, including taking on the challenge, pivoting and path setting, change making, and the stretch home. The first couple of weeks will be mostly about taking on the brief. In the first couple of weeks, we will be spending some time with the students to build that teamwork foundation, to build the professionalism, setting the expectations, managing the relationship that they have within their teams and also with their partners and with their teaching team. At the same time, we will provide them with workshops to help them to deep dive into the problem exploration as well, such as creativity and innovation mindset, stakeholder engagement, and creative methods as well. In the second phase, which is the complexity and reframing, we try to work towards unpacking perspectives and assumptions to prep teams to start reframing the challenge brief that you offered them. After this, they will have a reframe check-in with you to double check, to have your agreement in terms of set the pathway moving forward into the second half of the project and semester as well. And the second half will be about nudging and experimenting the ideas. It will be about the ideation phase, testing the ideas that they came up with and had an agreement with you previously. And after this, they will be going through proof of concept and they will prepare to work on their report as well. So, building partnership, if you have attended the partner meeting that we had in November, we touched base this concept and we tried to explain it. So here I'm going to talk about it a bit more in details, that what do we mean by partnerships and what is that. Obviously, managing your relationship with your project team, you have freedom on that. But we have some studies that has been proven to show that, partnerships is something that works better in the context of BCII and in the context of IIP. So I'm just going to delve a bit deeper into, managing relationship with projects team. It might worth mention before going into the details of that IIP is a bit different from other subjects. And I'm not sure if I mentioned that, when I say IIP, I mean Industry Innovation Project. My apologies. We tend to use acronyms a lot and shorten version of everything. And when I say IIP, I mean the subject. So one of the points of differentiation for IIP is that it's the subject that usually students in BCII, they have 2 or 3 weeks to take an intensive winter school or summer school. And this in IIP, it will be the first time for students that they will be working on their project for the whole semester for the 12 weeks. Another differentiation point will be that typically in our BCII degree and different subjects, we usually have one industry partner per whole cohort. But the point here is that in IIP, we will be having, as you know, one industry partner for each project team, which brings us to the point that, building that relationship between students and partners, it's very imperative and important across these 12 weeks. So that's why one of the reasons that, I would really like to touch base on, building that relationship and partnership with the students. And the other differentiation point of IIP from any other subjects like internship and placement and other things is that we have and we encourage students to come up with creativity and innovation, and that coming up with innovative ideas and putting creative ideas in relies on flexibility and partnerships rather than being instructed what to do or what not to do. So here are some factors. Here are some elements of partnerships that I try to unpack here, that when we say partnership, what do we mean by that? There might be so many different elements that might be involved in this, but these are some key elements that we could think of. And I can give you some examples. For instance, collaboration. Some of these key elements are self-explanatory. You all are familiar with that, might not need extra explanation on that, but I'm just going to go through some of these elements, like collaboration. What do you mean by, what do we mean by collaboration? So instead of instructing students, we really would like to see that collaborative space and, discussion instead of instructing students. And I do acknowledge that many of you are experts in your organizations, you are expert in your field. At the same time, your project teams are also equipped with certain skills and knowledge that they have gained in the past 3 years, and they have that all of these skills and knowledge have given them the ability to look at the challenge space from different angle as well. So having that discussion and collaboration in the relationship is extremely important. Negotiation during the reframing, it's a very imperative element. Agreeing upon the project, the pathways, the initiatives that they come up with, active listening and engagement in the weekly meetings that you have with them. And there will be a time during the semester and during your collaboration that these project teams and students will be starting unpacking assumptions about the challenge brief that you offered them, and they may challenge your assumptions, and they may start, they may challenge the ideas or the angle of the brief that you put forward. So keeping an open mind is crucial element here, as well as we are expecting them to think outside of the box, and it also requires everyone to be adaptive in this relationship and keep an open mind and keep the flow of the conversation open. And also there are also elements that are here involved as well. They might need some of the complementary resources that they don't have access, but you could offer them as well. There might be other elements and factors involved in partnerships that I might missed when I was unpacking it, but I'd be more than happy to hear if anyone would like to add anything, or if there are any of our partners who would like to share an example, our previous partners who were with us, who would like to share any example of how they could manage building partnership with their team and how it worked. Is there anyone who would like to share an example?
Hey, Leila, I'm happy to jump in here. Hi, everyone. My name's Steve. I work for How to Impact. We're a strategic design and innovation consultancy. This will be my third project with the BCIIs for IIP, and I'd actually worked in my previous role as well with them. I suppose one thing I would share, when I first started, in hindsight, quite condescendingly, I was almost thinking about, oh, how nice to be working with the kids. I'll probably have to be holding their hand to kind of show them the ropes. But very quickly from the first brief, in answering and receiving a lot of critical questions, I was like, wow, they're actually really thinking about this in quite a different way. And I would say a lot of the benefits I've had over the few projects is the fact that we're exploring different questions or exploring certain questions in different ways. So actually, really a bit of a co-production or I suppose a collaborative approach has been really valuable for us, because a lot of the value isn't necessarily from a final report. It's actually from some of the collective sense making that we do together, from some of the conversations where we're really learning from the students. At the same time, we're also helping to guide them what's meaningful for us in our context as well. And equally so, that kind of collaborative approach has been helpful just in how we're managing the roles in the project, where there's been certain opportunities for us to gain access to senior stakeholders, and we've been able to really help guide the students to be effective in that. At the same time, having the students guide us in terms of certain methods, which we've secretly borrowed some of those as well. So I would say, yeah, definitely one of mutual learning and identifying opportunities to kind of collaborate and having shared roles has been really valuable for us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Steve, from How to Impact, to share your experience. I believe that it's extremely valuable to hear you know, a real example from a partner that how it works and how they have done well in the past as well. Really appreciated it, Steve. So this brings us to the key factor and key element that we would like to share with you. So when we say partnership, we don't mean internship, we don't mean consulting. You know, we do not encourage students to see you as their clients, because it may close that open communication and negotiation as well. So we really encourage students to see this as partnership, and we would encourage you the same as well. Because in the end of the day, we really want to see creativity and innovative ideas coming out of these projects as well. As I said, the key element here is the mutual learning. I've shared also a link here of the paper article that our colleagues published specifically using IIP as the case. These colleagues have been coordinating and they were involved in the IIP before me, and it has been proven and it's been highlighted in their article that the key element that can bring can allow bringing up that creativity and innovation is that mutual learning relationship between partners and students as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions in the end. I understand that this might be still a gray area for many of us, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. And our teaching team in the breakout rooms might be even give you more examples. They are all very experienced, been with the IIP, the majority of them. They might be able to help you as well. As part of building that relationship, we will be asking students in the first week before meeting you, we will be asking them to develop a communication plan where we will be asking them and we will be giving them a template that they will bring into the meeting on Thursday next week. And some of the key details that we want them to think through and double check with you and set the expectations or how you would like to communicate with them. Some of these might be fundamental, basic plan, but very necessary to be in place from the very beginning. Some simple plans, for example, what are the days that you would like to see and have your regular meeting? What are the ways that you would like them to communicate with you? Do you have any set of expectations in terms of, you know, how many emails they can send you a day? You know, it can be as simple as this or a bit more complicated or sophisticated. Depends on you, what are the rules in your organizations, because some of you may be having your project team coming to your premises, and are there any specific expectations in your organization that they need to be aware of and they need to abide by? So please have this conversation with the students from the very beginning, and also about the confidential information about IP and NDA. It's been shared with them, but it's very important to just double check with them whether they have any question or they need any clarification about the confidentiality or sensitivity of the information that you share with them, and any other plans that you may have and want to talk about in next Thursday as well. Well, I'm just going to stop here and hand over to Ursula to talk about the partner side of the IIP.
Thanks, Layla. You'll all have to forgive me. I, in the panic of the fire evacuation, actually left my notes in the office. And so I'm juggling on the single screen. What I wanted to do you mind if I just look off your screen for the PowerPoint? Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to start off by taking you all through the interactive IIP partner map. Hopefully a lot of you have seen this by now, but essentially the process that you've all gone through up until this point is submitting your expression of interest to be involved. You've obviously all been voted in, and congratulations on that, and then completed your legal requirements. So this is where you are now with my little blue arrow, attending the partner briefing. Congratulations. And then the next step is next week on Thursday, we've got the welcome event. So you should all have received an invitation for the welcome event by now. That one is in person and it's on campus. So it's something that we require the project leads to attend, and where possible, the executive sponsors as well. There is a maximum of 3 people per organization to come to that welcome event. And so not everyone that will be interacting with the students necessarily needs to be there, but it is really critical that the project leads are there, and where possible, the executive sponsors as well. We've said maximum of 3 people because we're aware that in some cases there's been a project lead and a deputy project lead, if you will. The key things to remember, so that's when the project is officially kicking off, is the 14th of March. At that event, as Layla mentioned, is when you'll go through the communications plan with the students. You'll provide them some context around the brief that they haven't already received. And it's where you'll kind of find a way forward from there. After that, the key thing is to remember is the weekly check-ins with your student team. So usually it's about 1 hour a week that you'll be checking in with the student team, which is an opportunity to understand where the students are at, understand where they need support and guidance. Obviously, as Layla has mentioned, it is a partnership. So it's an opportunity for you to share back ideas that you have, for them to share ideas with you. And that'll be happening weekly throughout the process. You then have the reframe check-in, which is happening from the 22nd to the 24th of April. And that's one that will, I guess that the exact date and time will be communicated closer to time with the student group, and the format of that, whether it's in person or online. But that is flexible. You can have that in person at campus, or you can have it at your office, or you can have it online, and that's something that you'll figure out with the student team. After that, you'll continue on with your weekly check-ins, and then there'll be a final presentation on the 3rd and 4th of June. And that one is going to be online. So that final presentation is assessed. We ask where possible that a large number of people don't attend it, just those that have been working directly with the students, because that is the one that is assessed. If you want the students to present to the organisation more broadly, that's absolutely something that you can ask of the students. I haven't heard of a student team turning that opportunity down yet, but it would be about coming back to a town hall or coming back to a larger presentation. Just we ask that it's not in that final presentation that they're doing, because that is their assessment. And then on the 7th of June, you'll receive a final report from the student group. And then the last thing to mention is on the 13th of June, there's going to be what's called a sense making and a thank you event. So I'm still figuring out the details of that in terms of exact time and location. I'll be in contact with you closer to time with that, but just mark that in your diaries, sort of the afternoon, evening of the 13th of June. We'd love to have you have you for a sense-making and thank you event. So that's the overall view of kind of what the next 13 weeks is going to look like. Next thing to mention is how to best support your team. So one of the best ways you can support the team is, as Layla has mentioned, the first phase of the project is going to be spent in research. It's about the students understanding the problem as broadly and as deeply as possible. And one of the best ways that you can set the student team up for success is to provide them with any context or any information around the challenge space that would be useful. Depending on the challenge space, some organizations decide to provide students with a briefing pack. It's not absolutely necessary, but it is a good idea to start thinking about what information would support the students in diving into that challenge space quickly and understanding as much as they can in as short a period of time as possible. The next point is to guide rather than instruct. So this one kind of points back a lot to what Layla was mentioning about the partnership rather than consulting and on internship. It's about this idea of mutual learning. But this is one that I found a little bit tricky as well when I had student teams. And I think it's hard, particularly if you're an alumni, because you've been through the process and you know what's happening and you know what's coming next. And so I did find that I had to be quite consistent. I had to be quite cautious and remind myself consistently not to step in and to allow the students to go through that process themselves. And there's always opportunities to, of course, guide where they need, but it's not, it is a little bit of a tricky spot, I think, particularly when you're an alum, to not step in too much, but I'm sure you'll all figure that one out as well. The next one is to have an open mind. This one's pretty obvious, but I guess the BCII approach can be really new, particularly for our new partners. It's a very different way of looking at problems. It's a very different way of approaching problem solving. And so we do ask that you have an open mind as much as you can and to trust in the process. It's pretty common that kind of when you get to that reframe check and it feels like the students should be further along in the project than they are, but it is actually really well thought out process. Sorry, we are in a room that we haven't booked. We just jumped into a side room, so apologies if there's people behind us. But yeah, so just have an open mind and do trust the process. But again, you do have our contact details if you have concerns at any point. Next one is to be curious and collaborative. And this then just again points back to that idea of the fact that this is your opportunity to work with the students, they're not working for you, you're not working for them. It's this idea that you're collaborating on this project together. And the last thing is to invite your student team to the workplace. So where possible, we absolutely encourage this to happen. Doesn't need to be often, but about half a day a week really helps the students to get a broader understanding of the context that they're operating in. So where possible, we do encourage that as well. The next slide is what support will be available to me. So throughout the process, any questions or concerns at all, please do feel free to reach out to the partnerships team. We've got our email address there, but we've got it posted in a lot of different locations. You can respond to any of the emails that you've received from us as well. You'll also receive subject coordinator updates. So you'll receive 5 of these throughout the IIP journey. 4 of them throughout the actual 13 weeks when you're working with the students, and then 1 additional one after that as well. And then we have what's called the Partner Resource Hub. So this is a little bit of a look at what it looks like, and there's a QR code up there in the top right-hand corner, which will take you to the Partner Resource Hub. But this is essentially this has the navigator, this has the view of, I guess, other tips and tricks that you'll see throughout the process, FAQs and the other partner challenges as well. So, and this is where the subject coordinator updates will be posted as well. So that is the end of my section as well. I know that you're going to potentially do.
Yes, it's actually time for having a bit of chat and conversation with the teaching team. The table that you can see in your screen shows the teaching members who'll be mainly working with you with the project, with different project teams, and they are the one that will be contacting you during the reframe check-in, and they will be having a conversation with you about the team and their performance as well. We believe that this is going to be a fantastic opportunity to meet and greet for tutors and the partners to meet and greet, and also meet other partners in the same tutorial as well. So we will be now starting the breakout rooms for each tutorial cluster, and sorry, we have lost some time because we had to evacuate. So we originally were thinking for everyone to spend about 30 minutes in the breakout rooms, but I think that we might have around perhaps 20 minutes now for breakout rooms and having the conversation. You can introduce yourself. Everyone in the breakout rooms, we can share ideas, possibly sharing your expectations and experiences if you are a returning partner in IIP, which would be fantastic. Can I confirm that breakout rooms are ready?
Yes, they are ready. It's just for me to click the open all rooms and people to join.
Thank you, Luis.
Do we go now?
Yes, please.
They're open.
Thank you, everyone. We will call you back to the main session 10 minutes before finishing the meeting.